The article written by Shelton and Barak found that while viewers of forensic crime dramas such as CSI exhibited heightened expectations for forensic evidence in criminal trials, these expectations did not necessarily translate into a greater likelihood of acquitting defendants when such evidence was absent. Their research indicated that jurors who frequently watched forensic television believed that the forensic techniques such as DNA analysis, ballistics, and toxicology reports should be readily available and conclusive in solving cases. Many assumed that forensic evidence was crucial in every trial and that its absence could indicate investigative shortcomings or reasonable doubt.
His lifestyle was no secret. Sex, drugs, and a big bankroll. No needle marks on his arms. The guy plays golf. Short-sleeved shirts. Check between the toes, groin area. Whatever he did went up his nose. Nasal cavity looks like raw hamburger.
These abrasions around his mouth? What? Hard to shave when you're stoned?
Or they're pressure marks. For example, if someone places a pillow or object against someone's nose and mouth in the climate of struggle.
Petechial hemorrhaging also suggestive of suffocation.
Not always. For as much as pathology is an absolute science, it isn't. Vessels can rupture under innocent circumstances, such as a violent cough.
These 3 circular red marks on his chest, they're not bug bites.
No neurotoxins present, but that's not to say some over-anxious paramedic trying to save a legend's life didn't cause them in the moment.
CPR wasn't performed.
Then I don't know what they are.
It's hard to OD just inhaling heroin. I know he was restrained, which leads me to believe that someone forced him to ingest lethal amounts of heroin and Xanax.
In the show CSI, Crime Scene Investigation, Season 2, Episode 1, Burked, the team investigates the suspicious death of wealthy gambler Tony Braun, who was found dead in his home with a bag of heroin nearby. Initially, his death appears to be a drug overdose, but forensic evidence suggests foul play. As the investigation unfolds, toxicology reports reveal that Braun was drugged with GHB, a substance often associated with date break cases. The team also analyzes bruise patterns on his body, indicating that he was restrained before his death. Fingerprints, DNA evidence, and crucial shoe prints found at the scene help the CSIs piece together the events leading to Braun's murder. Eventually, their forensic analysis leads them to the real killer, proving that Braun's death was not accidental but calculated crime linked to a financial dispute. The study by Schwitzler and Sachs found that regular viewers of forensic science television shows such as CSI, Bones, and NCIS developed significantly higher expectations regarding the presence, accuracy, and reliability of forensic evidence in criminal trials. These viewers often assumed that forensic techniques like DNA analysis, fingerprint identification, and ballistics testing were not only readily available in every case, but also infallible and capable of delivering conclusive results almost immediately. This phenomenon, commonly referred to as the CSI effect, has influenced public perception of forensic science, leading many to believe that real-life criminal investigations mirror the highly dramatized and technological advanced depictions seen on television. As a result, jurors who are regularly viewers of these shows may demand more forensic evidence in trials, expecting it to be both definitive and error-free before reaching a verdict. In some cases, this can place undue pressure on forensic experts and law enforcement agencies to produce scientific evidence, even when it is unnecessary or unavailable. Furthermore, the study suggests that these heightened expectations may impact courtroom dynamics, potentially affecting trial outcomes. Prosecutors may feel compelled to present forensic evidence even when a case is strong without it. to satisfy juror expectations. Conversely, defense attorneys may exploit the gap between real forensic science and its fictional portrayal to challenge the reliability of evidence presented in court.
I wanted to see if she could find out what I already knew.
A modicum of connective tissue indicates that depending upon burial conditions, the remains are less than 200 years old.
Zach, we have to shift the paradigm. This is a recent murder.
What does this FBI agent want?
Identification of the remains. Apparently, the FBI has had no luck with dental records or missing persons.
Well, pelvis tells us female who has never given birth. Eruption of the third molar indicates adolescent. The fingernails have lacquer on them. Fractures to the pars interarticularis of the C2 indicate a blow to the forehead, which may have caused unconsciousness, but not death.
What are you doing?
We are identifying a murder victim.
In Bones, Season 5, Episode 16, The Parts in the Sum of the Whole. The show highlights how television influences real-world experiences in trials, particularly through forensic techniques like skeletal examination. In the episode, Dr. Temperance Brennan and her team use highly advanced forensic methods to analyze skeletal remains, quickly determining key details such as cause of death, time since death, and even intricate personal history from the bones. Their precise and rapid analysis gives the impression that forensic anthropologists can always extract details and conclusive evidence from skeletal remains in every case. This portrayal reflects the CSI effect, where jurors in real-world trials may expect forensic experts to provide similarly quick and definitive results. In reality, skeletal examination is such a complex and time-consuming process, often limited by factors such as bone condition, environmental damage, and available technology. Unlike in TV dramas, real forensic scientists may not always be able to determine a clear cause of death or identify from bones alone.
A skeletal examination in real life has many parts and processes and will most likely take hours to complete. Assuming you have the entire skeleton available to you, your first task is a visual inspection. In this, you're looking for and noting any deformities, abnormal growths, or injuries in the bone antemortem or perimortem. X-rays, CT scans, or MRIs can help you see more details that are invisible to the naked eye. You're also measuring and noting the angles and length and size of each bone, all of which can help narrow down the possible identity of the body. After the visual inspection comes palpation, where you are now gently pressing and feeling bones for tenderness, swelling, as well as taking imprints of the teeth to cross-check against dental records later. Measuring bone density comes next. This helps to indicate the health of the person while they were alive and can reveal a disease that the person may have had in life. Medical history should also be taken and noted down during this process if any surgeries, conditions, or injuries related to the skeleton are found. These notes are then relayed back to the proper post-mortem team, most likely law enforcement, and used alongside other forensic evidence to help identify the victim.
The state trooper took this before the paramedics showed up. He's unconscious, has 4 broken bones. He's gonna be in the hospital for a month.
I didn't hurt myself.
You remember removing the tie iron from the trunk?
No.
That's the last thing you do.
I picked Eric up from school Friday for the weekend. What day is this?
This happened 2 days ago in Beechwood, New Jersey. Mr. Fisher had ingested LSD one afternoon and didn't come down until 18 hours later.
The hospital reported 6 other patients who ingested LSD in the last 24 hours. The hospital called the CDC called us.
So a bunch of people got spiked. What makes it a BAU case?
They each received 10 to 20 times the normal dose.
It's enough to kill a small child.
Or cause a grown man to kill him with a tire iron. Of the 7 victims, there was 1 death and 1 coma. This is from hospital security footage the same night Fisher lost it.
These people didn't get spiked. These people were poisoned.
Criminal Minds, Season 1, Episode 13, Poison. In this episode, we see that the BAU is called in 2 days after an incident where the father was drugged and had attacked his son. His was not an isolated incident, which most likely played a role in the quick identification of the drugs in his system, but for the sake of education, I want to approach the situation as though it were isolated, and go through the process of how a forensics team would conduct a toxicology exam to figure out the drugs in his system. I want to discuss the timeline and process of the drug testing mentioned in this episode. If the father was arrested with suspicion of being under the influence, he would be subjected to a general tox screen that would be looking for common drugs like alcohol, heroin, cocaine, phencyclidine, also known as PCP, methamphetamine, also known as meth, and marijuana. This test would be done by taking urine, blood, and saliva samples right after the arrest, as well as a breathalyzer test that would most likely have been done before any blood samples were drawn. All these samples would be sent off to a lab to test, and the results would take an average of 1 to 4 days to return if the lab is in-house, or 21 to 32 days if off-site. In this example, the tests were done off-site at a hospital and showed no common recreational drugs in his system, so more specialized testing would be necessary. I want to note that LSD is not normally covered during a general tox screen. However, the way a tox screen works by looking for indicators for different categories of drugs, the sheer amount that the father had ingested would likely show up in the results regardless. However, further testing would be required to identify specifically. In the show, the more specialized second test results came back positive for rohypnol, a fast-acting hallucinogenic that is known to cause antegrade amnesia, drowsiness, and muscle relaxation, among other things. However, this discovery in the show was likely only possible because the hospital had other patients that same day showing the same symptoms and knew they would need to conduct more specialized tests beforehand. In our isolated incident example, however, the initial tox screen would likely have come back too late for any further testing to be possible, because rohypnol is only detectable within 72 hours of ingestion, meaning that the timeline of this whole episode would need to have started at least 3 weeks after the incident to be plausible. All this to say, TV shows are meant for entertainment purposes and should not be used to set up expectations for real-life scenarios or court cases. Forensic testing takes time and is not always completely accurate, reliable, or even available. It's important to keep in mind that in reality, as a juror, you will be expected to make a judgment with little to no forensic evidence accessible to you.